Auburn baseball just defeated South Alabama in Montgomery by the score of 6-5. We're going to be talking about that, the past weekend against Texas A&M, and the upcoming week with a series against Georgia. All of that here on our catch-up this week for Auburn baseball. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Kyle, as normal, and we appreciate you being here with us at E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. As I said at the start, our plan today on this live stream, or this evening, a late live stream, as it typically will be after a baseball game late on a midweek opponent, we're going to be getting on here a little bit later, but we want to use this opportunity to see if you guys want to do some midweek check-ins with this, where we'll discuss obviously the game that we just witnessed in the win column for Auburn against South Alabama, but also the week past and the week ahead, a good opportunity to kind of catch up on things going. As you come into the stream, do a couple things for me if you wouldn't mind. Most of you know the drill. Use this as your check-in period. Post where you're watching from right now, your city, your state, international. It's a good way to get the stream going and letting people know that we're live, that they can be part of the show too. So you guys drop your comments and questions as we go throughout the stream. And of course, as always, smash the like button. Huge help there as well. I'll start off with some opening statements. I know that coming out from the weekend against Texas A&M was a bit of a sobering reality check for a lot of people in regards to this baseball team. You know, you can understand. We talked about this. Usually what I do every weekend is put together a short video recapping what happened in that series, and we have that out for you now. It's titled the What You Need to Know Auburn Baseball video series, and there was one for the Texas A&M. Basically, what you needed to know from that is we lost 3 games in a row. So it wasn't really great to look back on that a lot, but you can at least kind of note and kind of be aware what's going on, particularly for Auburn baseball at that time. A much needed end to that losing streak came in the form of this game with South Alabama in the capital city. What used to, and I think it's still called the Capital City Classic. Can anybody confirm that? I think they still call it that, but what it used to be was the Capital City Classic between Auburn and Alabama, and for whatever reason has ceased to exist in that format. And for the last couple seasons, it's been Auburn versus one of the smaller Alabama schools, which I'm going to be honest, I kind of like, and I kind of like that it's evolving into Auburn and South Alabama happening a lot of the time. It happened the last 2 seasons, at least. I know it's the last 2 seasons, but it may have been beyond that. And to me, it's kind of like a nice meet-up point for the 2 schools. Yes, it's a lot closer for Auburn. Montgomery and Auburn only be separated by 45 minutes to an hour, about 2 hours and change, probably for maybe a little bit more than that for the Mobile-based South Alabama team. But it's a good meet-up point where the teams can come together and play in kind of a special event. Last year went down to the wire. I think the final score was either, I think it was 12-13 in Auburn's favor or 11-12, but I know it came down to the wire. This one as well came down to the wire. You shouldn't be surprised that South Alabama gave Auburn a fight. You really shouldn't be surprised that a lot of Alabama teams, state of Alabama teams give each other trouble. There's a lot of good baseball played in the state, whether it's Auburn, Alabama from time to time, and then Jacksonville State and South Alabama, and then others as well, too. There's some good baseball here. So don't be shocked when you see they give each other just a little bit of extra trouble from time to time. But thankfully, we come out with the win, and obviously sets us up very well for the weekend ahead with Georgia coming to town. It'll be our second SEC series, but also our first SEC series at home, and we'll definitely need that. Looks to be nice temperatures, but weather could be a little bit of a factor there. So we can touch on anything within that you guys would like to talk about. So drop your comments and questions if you have them, even if you're watching on the replay, and we'll address them as they come up on the live stream here. What I'd like to do, and I always like to do when we're talking after a game, and this kind of serves as your post-game reaction show for baseball. It's a little bit harder to do those in season the way we do for football or for basketball. But we can at least walk through a little bit of what happened tonight and kind of take a walk with some of the storylines that have been arising. We all know that Bryson Ware has been on a tear. That's not been a mistake. It happened even so over the last couple of weeks. But who's also been on a tear right now is one Kason Howell, a fifth-year guy who came back for the extra year, and boy, is he making the most of it right now, at least. Tonight, 3 for 5 on the leadoff position, 4 RBIs, 1 single, 1 double, and then a home run, 1 short of the cycle. He did have a strikeout too. What an incredible night at the plate for Kason Howell. What more do you ask for from your leadoff position? Get on base, and he's doing more than that. He's getting runs across the plate too. You know, if he keeps hitting like this, you may have to find a place for him higher up in the batting order. I doubt that's going to happen because he's such a speedster. We do need him in that position, but it is nice to see, at least from an offensive standpoint for the Auburn baseball team. We know that they can produce runs and produce them quickly, but it's not just coming from one particular area. You know, at the beginning of the season, Ike Irish, the freshman phenom, and he's still, all of these guys I'm going to mention are still doing well. But, you know, Ike Irish was taking the stage, and it was Bryson Ware. Now it's Kason Howell. I got a feeling Chris Stanfield is going to be the next one to kind of make the big push to grab people's attention as well, especially with his speed and things like that. A lot of favorable things to like tonight. Let me just walk through the rest of the lineup tonight just to give you an idea of how things went. Cole Foster 0 for 3 on the night. Ike Irish 1 for 4. Bryson Ware 1 for 4. Justin Kirby 2 for 3. A pretty good night for him too. Chris Stanfield 1 for 4. I'm still learning some of these guys' names, so you have to bear with me. Miller 1 for 3. Green 0 for 1 tonight. Wortham 0 for, excuse me, I think I had that a little backwards. 0 for 4 tonight, and then Wright 2 for 4 tonight. So that is your batters, how everybody did. Obviously headlined a lot by Kason Howell and then Justin Kirby as well. And I failed to mention when I was running down some of the offensive guys tonight, Justin Kirby doing very well. He's kind of been that consistent guy in the, I don't want to call him in the background, but just doing great things the whole time alongside someone who's really taking the stardom, whether that's Ike Irish, whether that's Bryson Ware, now Kason Howell. You got that other guy in the background really kind of helping bring those extra runs, which has made Auburn's offense so potent at times tonight. What I'd like to do is also look at some of the pitchers tonight. Drew Nelson gets the start, goes 4 innings, only allows 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. No earned runs for him tonight. Murphy did have 2 earned runs. Armstrong did come in and allowed 3 runs, which really made things interesting. That was not, we're not used to that. We're not used to Armstrong giving up home runs, much less runs. And he made things a little bit scary there tonight. So not his best night. Closed out by Chase Isbell tonight to get the win for the Auburn Tigers. So we've walked up and down that. Offensively, pitching tonight. What else, if anything, stuck out to you tonight for the Auburn baseball game or for the rest of the week? Does this make you feel better about what happened at Texas A&M? The fact that there's one way to look at it, right? You could look at it as this team's down right now. They're going to continue to slide and start dropping midweek games, but they didn't. They responded, took care of who you expect them to take care of. Mid-tier, I'm going to call them mid-tier teams, not as prominent of programs, teams in midweek games, and making sure you don't slip up those as well. And I think it's even extra important the way you started off with a series being swept. How do you say, you swept the series? When you get swept, I feel like there should be an easier way to say it. Being swept. You definitely want to respond the way that the Tigers did in the Capital City Classic. I don't think it takes away the sting of what happened in College Station, but it makes things just a little bit more palatable heading into a matchup with Georgia. Do you guys like having it in the Montgomery space every single year? I kind of do. I do wish that Auburn and Alabama still were kind of the ones that did that, but for me, I'm glad it's just happening in some capacity. Good to see you, Trevor. Thanks for being here tonight. If you have a player for the game or anything like that, you can share it in the chat. But I think for most people tonight, it's going to be Kason Howell is your batter. I think you could also make a case for your starting pitcher tonight in Drew Nelson. Got him off to a really good start. The bullpen is where really things started to struggle a little bit. And I know there's been some lamentations for that over the last few games. But all in all, for me, even with a little bit of scariness at the end there, it was something good to kind of get back in the win column for Auburn. Just trying to see if there's any other notes that we can hit on tonight before we kind of wrap up our show. There was one guy for South Alabama who had quite a night for himself that I wanted to bring up, and I'm missing him. Like, I keep going back and forth looking at where did he go. He had 2 home runs tonight, I believe. Lawrence for South Alabama, 2 home runs, and those were his 2 hits tonight. He's the guy that did the damage to Auburn. Trevor, thank you so much for the kind words, sir. Appreciate that. We do our best to give you guys some good content, variety of content, lots of sports, but as much as we can within the Auburn experience, because that's what we're all about here. So I'll tell you what we'll do from here. If you've got any other comments or questions that you want to drop in the chat, do so now. Let me remind you of a couple of things, and we'll kind of round out our show here in just a little bit. Reminders for the rest of the week. Tomorrow night, don't miss it, Auburn Family Night. Live call-in show, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Been doing that since the dawn of time. Anything is up for discussion in that particular show tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Tell a friend, invite them. Help us continue to grow that little family within the Auburn family. Be a subscriber if you can to be part of that channel membership. That's over here on YouTube for you folks anywhere else watching. But we do hope that you'll come over to YouTube and hang out with us there too. You can be a channel member. You can be a Booster Club member. Both of those start at $1 a month, or you can just check out other links in the description for ways to help support our content here at E2C Network. Let's see who else is popping in here. War Eagle to Devin, good to see you. Devin says, got a little bit dicey there in the end, but we took care of business. Isn't it the way of being an Auburn fan when your team just finds a way to make things a little bit scary for you? But as you said, took care of business. Doesn't matter how the win happened, as long as it happened. Did I say Texas A&M? I said, why did I had Texas A&M on my brain all day for some reason. So I know that was a little bit of a slip up on my part there. Now, thank you for correcting me, Carrie. I guess because there's so much red in the conference that are, and I'm thinking football now too, because there's no divisions in baseball, but well, yeah, there's, I'm just all over the place tonight. I guess that's the only excuse that I have, that Texas A&M and Arkansas are somewhat similar colors, but then you can make the same case for Alabama. Good to see the key starters back. If Gonzo can get back to 100%, then they can contend for the SEC, another College World Series berth. Yeah, that's been the big missing piece, hasn't it? Gonzo got to make his first start, looked outstanding, and then we haven't seen him since. I believe it's a shoulder issue he's been kind of nursing, and that kind of seemed to send the pitching staff into, not, I won't call it a tailspin, but just trying to kind of figure out what's going to happen. You went from having this solid piece in the middle of your weekend series every single week to not having that and trying to figure out who's going to be that guy. We've seen several different pitchers have great moments and great starts in that starting role, but without Gonzo there, it's kind of not made us look and feel as stable as a pitching staff. So would love to get him back into the mix. And then we've had some other injuries as well. Cole Foster, I know, missed some time too. But we know this offense is good enough to get themselves back into games. It just did not happen this past weekend. I would like to think and believe heading into this SEC weekend with Georgia that we're going to be able to utilize that home field advantage, that familiarity to keep that offense going and get ourselves a much needed SEC series win. It's not going to be easy. When I looked at Georgia, they've played Georgia Tech too. We've played Georgia Tech. They won a series with them 2-1. I believe we won the single game in a close matchup. Yes, Georgia this weekend is the big one. We got to watch the weather though. It's going to be kind of dicey with some of the rain. At least when I looked at my area, which is not too far off from Georgia, there was a lot of rain coming through, although the temperatures will be quite nice and a lot better than they played in this past weekend at Arkansas, not Texas A&M, as Carrie pointed out that I was misspeaking early. I still don't understand how I got to Texas A&M on that. I even did a video series about this, about Arkansas. I guess it just happens sometimes when you cover all these different things in the Auburn family sphere. So yes, a big weekend coming up. I would say obviously it's a necessity to win this series with Georgia. However, a sweep would make the taste of last weekend go a little bit away. The one thing I think that I took away from this weekend is kind of maybe understanding where people, when they put us so low in the SEC rankings at the beginning of the season, why that was the way it was. You can see how tough it's going to be in the SEC. And you played one of the best in Arkansas. And there are going to be a lot of more tough weekends coming up here. But I think we can get the ship in the right direction, like you said, to contend for another tournament berth, but maybe college series berth as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know this is a little bit short, and these will probably be on the shorter end, but if you continue to like to have these midweek just as a check-in period, we'll continue to have those, what you need to know after each series. And sometimes we might pop in for an extra live stream or two. But thank you guys so much for being here, hanging out with us, and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until I talk to you again, see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. War Eagle.